Sports.
Yes. Alan Stiles, Sactown Sports, taking you up to 2 p.m. And oh my goodness, it finally happened. Russell Westbrook is a king. Say it with me. Russell Westbrook is a king. Shams broke the news, about 30-ish minutes ago, maybe more than that, about an hour ago. And as you can probably assume, we are all over this. I feel like Shams, the way I've been on my phone all morning long, trying to make sure that we are giving you the best experience and all the information that you need to feel better about the signing, to feel worse about the signing, however you want to feel about the signing. We are building a full lineup for you today and the rest of the week to figure out how to assess what the Kings have decided to do, bring in another future Hall of Famer, Russell Westbrook. Domantas Sabonis is a future Hall of Famer. Obviously, DeMar DeRozan is a future Hall of Famer, and now you have Russell Westbrook. And I've gone complete 180 on this. Kyle was trying to call me out during the transition between the morning show and this show. Kyle was trying to call me out. Look, number one, I did not want to lose Devin Carter for Russell Westbrook. That's number one, okay? And they're not going to do that. By the way, they picked up Devin Carter's third-year option. It's really rare when a team does not pick up the third-year option for a first-rounder. It'd have to be a rough situation. So, Devin Carter's still here. You want to bring in Russell Westbrook? We were going to talk about Dariq Whitehead, who got released or waived from the Nets. He goes about 6'6", 6'7", sharp-shooting wing. A couple other guys that they could have went after. But again, you watched that first game of the preseason, and I said it. You watched that first game of the preseason, and you started to realize and started to understand what Scott Perry was talking about, and why there was a feeling in that building and a need in their minds for Russell Westbrook. Somebody that said, we're not going to let the Portland Trailblazers shoot 54%. It's not even about the actual measurables. I know he's not 6'8". I know he's not a wing. I know he probably can't guard fours. I understand all that. But Scott Perry's thought process was, well, we're probably not going to find somebody like that on the streets anyway. This is somebody we were already interested in. We saw in that first game. I know the second game, the broadcast was a little wonky. By the way, they have another preseason game tonight, and we'll get to that as well. But Malik Monk didn't play a ton of point guard that first game. Keon was bringing it up when Malik and Keon were both on the floor. It was a lot of Dennis Schroeder. So we started to understand what was going on. And if there's one person that's not going to let his side, I get it, he's not going to guard big fours. But if there's one person that is going to be up to the task, it's going to be Russell Westbrook. How many times, I've been here for how long now? How much time, how many segments have we cooked talking about dogs? Talking about this team needs a dog. How many segments? I remember vividly having a conversation saying, well, maybe the team doesn't need a dog. Maybe the coach can be the dog. I said that. I'll never forget I had to come up with a segment like that because of what the Sacramento Kings were not bringing to the table. We don't have to talk about that anymore. JaVale McGee, all those years ago, sat right here, right in this studio, next to me, but it wasn't me because it was the Drive guys. And he said, these guys are laughing after losing to the Spurs, and that's before the Spurs were supposed to be good. JaVale said they don't have it. They do not have it. And Russell Westbrook does. Is he great at shooting the three ball? No. Is he a 6'8", 4", and somebody that can guard every position? No. But you probably weren't going to find that off the scrap heap anyway. So this gives the Kings another point guard. It gives them another look. He can play the two. I know he's not a great shooter, but he can generate shots. And when Keegan Murray comes back, we'll see how this thing looks. Now, we will talk about the other side of it. Allen, that's playing time that could have went to Keon. Allen, that's playing time that could have went to Devin Carter. Allen, that's playing time that could have went to Nick Clifford. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Okay? Now, how this thing all balances out, we will know as it goes through. I don't know how many minutes Russell Westbrook going to play. It was looking a little bit different before the Keegan Murray injury, even though Keegan obviously is going to play that 4 and Russell Westbrook is not. But let's let it all play out. I am not against bringing a dog onto the team. Now, do I want it to be at the expense of the young guys and their ability to get more time and to develop? No, not necessarily. But if they're winning games, and I know Carmichael Dave and others don't think that'll be the case, but if they're winning games, that's a different conversation. Let's just put a pin in it. Be happy that those Westbrook jerseys are going to be real and are probably selling right now. And we can fast forward to if they're 2-12 and Keon ain't getting time and Devin Carter is rotting on the bench and having to go back to G League at 23 years old, we can have that conversation then. But right now, we don't know what it's going to look like. We don't. So I'm not going to be, and I've said this before, I'm not going to be, and I know I did it, and I apologize for it because I like to react to what happens and not necessarily react before it happens. But look, I looked at that 20-game stretch, and it was rough. But I'm not going to be pessimistic before anything even happens. There's time for that. There will be time for that. If they stink and Keon ain't getting time and everybody and Russell Westbrook is not only clogging the lanes, but clogging the pipeline for the young guards, we can have that conversation. But we don't know how he's going to be used. He might be even more of a 3. We don't know anything right now. If he's, clogging the lane on Neek Clifford, who's also already 23, we do not know. So we have time. We have time to react to all of that. So it's not about Allen is being too optimistic or pessimistic. I'm optimistic because it's nice to see a future Hall of Famer in Sacramento. You could be walking down the street and see Russell Westbrook in Sacramento. This is one of the biggest brands in basketball. And DeMar DeRozan, he's probably a tier below that, but DeMar DeRozan's there too. Will it translate to wins? I'm not going to sit here and say it's not. I'm not going to go back and forth with my guy, Carmichael Dave, about whether it's going to be 3 to 5 games. He said, how many wins do you think it'll add? I said about 3 to 5 in my mind, just because of Russell Westbrook and what he does. Now, are there games where he might take away from that? Probably. We just saw it in Denver. But I'm not going to do that today. Life is too tough, man. I got the little one. Half the time she don't want to sleep when it's time to sleep. I'm not going to sit here and poo-poo a future Hall of Famer coming to the Kings. Now, like I said, if they're 2-12, or if they're 1-4, then things will change a little bit. It's not about being flip-floppy. It's about reacting to results. We don't have results yet. What we do know is that Russell Westbrook ain't backing down to nobody. And what we do know is that people come up in this building, 2 gold and 1, and they have career years. They have career nights. Brandon Ingram looked like Steph Curry. Are you kidding me? Somebody got to do something about that. We thought it was going to be Jay Crowder. He had a back brace on all season long. So somebody has to do that. And Russell Westbrook will be that person. And if nothing else, as long as he's not taking away too many minutes from the young guys, he can infuse some of that. Remember how all y'all were hitting us up on the Alan Stiles Show, 916-339-1140? We're still giving away a night to the Kempton Sawyer, as well as 2 tickets to see Russell Westbrook's former team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, take on the Kings November 7th, and $200 to Revival. We will give you that secret keyword at 12 o'clock. So we still got that going on for you. But how many times have we sat there and people called this number, 916-339-1140? By the way, we got a ton of guests today, but the phone lines are open all day. I will get to you. You want to talk Westbrook? The floor is yours. You think I'm crazy? You're on Carmichael Dave's side? Cool. You agree with me? Cool. Let's talk. That's what this is all about. This is what I love. You can tell I got a twinkle in my eye and a song in my heart. But how many people called, right? And when they called, oh my goodness, I think that Harrison Barnes is rubbing off on Keegan Murray. Even, you could, dare I say, De'Aaron Fox. right? Just to kind of laid back. We're just chilling. I'll get my shot when it's time. La da 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 da. I don't want to say lackadaisical because I wouldn't disrespect Harrison Barnes like that, but I would just say chill, laid back, right? How many people called this phone line or texted in saying, I'm afraid that Harrison Barnes is wearing off on Keegan Murray? Well, how about this? How about Russell Westbrook wearing off on Keon Ellis? How about Russell Westbrook wearing off on Devin Carter? How about Russell Westbrook wearing off on Nick Clifford? How about that? Because that's something I would invite any day of the week. The plus minus for the season, the win total was 34 and a half games. What are we talking about not being excited today? I don't care if it just moves up. We can check, Kyle. We can check Vegas in about 10 minutes. I'm sure it's already refreshed. It might only go up to 36 and a half. But dang it, that's 2 more wins.
I imagine they're inflating it for suckers.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah. And you might be headed to Reno right now. Hold on now. Don't get too much dip on the chip. Now, on the other side of this, I think it's perfect. Because if you want to agree with Carmichael Dave, and you don't think it's going to change things too much, that's why we run the Tankathon, the NBA draft every single day. I still want Darren Peterson. I still want AJ DeBanza. I still want the good Boozer twin. I still want that. So either way, and I get it, they could find themselves in that middle ground where they just kind of screw themselves over. Maybe that's the case. We'll have to see. According to Carmichael Dave and others, it ain't going to help that much anyway, so it doesn't change anything. But it'll give us moments. I know dang well it'll give us moments. And you get somebody in the building that is going to build that culture for the young guys, the Nick Cliffords, the Keons, dudes like that, the Maxime Reynaud's, all of those guys, the Isaac Jones, all of them. And even some of the current vets, DeMontis Sabonis. I know Malik is a dog, don't get me wrong. Guys like that. I know when on the surface, it's another guard. Don't get me wrong. I'm not crazy. I understand that. But I'm not going to sit here on these airwaves when life is tough. You got to pay your dang bills, right? Kids don't be acting right. Your dog pooping on the floor. All this stuff is going on, and I'm going to sit here and downplay Russell Westbrook coming to the Sacramento Kings. I can't do it. I cannot do it. I can't do it, and I'm not going to do it. Can't do it, won't do it. Okay? By the way, this is our lineup, and we have more on the lineup as well. I'm continuing to text people. My phone is warm. I need to let it cool off for a second. But Brett Siegel's going to join us at 11:30, give his take on everything that went down and if this could just be the beginning. Brendan Nunez is going to come straight from shoot-around to stop by and talk to us around 12:30. Ryan Blackburn, who covers the Nuggets for Mile High Sports, he's going to be with us at 1 o'clock. And Ryan is going to tell us some of the peaks and valleys of having Russell Westbrook on your team and what to expect. So I'm really excited to talk to Ryan because he was right there and saw the Russell Westbrook experience. We have and by the way, it's tough for the local media right now because they have to go to shoot around and they're running around because there's a game tonight. But Sean Cunningham, it was, quote, probably.
Here's Sean Cunningham. Who? I don't know.
It was, quote, probably. So we will probably have Sean Cunningham on the show. It just depends on what time he's trying to confirm that for me. So it's fully loaded like a baked potato. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Okay? So that's the next 4 hours in a nutshell. We still have other things to discuss. What teams could be interested in Zach LaVine if they extend him out. The Devin Carter situation, what does that mean? Does that mean that the Kings maybe like Devin Carter than a lot of us thought? He's sitting there on the third team in these rotations during practice. We didn't think that was a great look, but maybe picking up this option, maybe we've been overstating or undervaluing how the Kings do feel about one Devin Carter. So if you're just now joining us because you are in the middle of a 30-minute commercial-free segment, which we do at the top of every hour here on your home of Russell Westbrook's Sacramento Kings. Westbrook and the Kings maintained communication all offseason as the 2017 NBA MVP, remained patient in free agency, and now lands a deal for his 18th season. Westbrook has bonds with, and you got to pay attention to this one, Because this is the stuff that I don't think was very obvious when all these conversations were going on. Westbrook has bonds with Domantas Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan, and Zach LaVine. History alongside Dennis Schroeder in the backcourt and with assistant GM BJ Armstrong on the agency side. A shared respect for GM Scott Perry and coach Doug Christie. Westbrook is expected to officially join the team later this week, sources said. So, Kyle, I just went on a heck of a rant. Let's get you in here, and I want to hear your initial thoughts. I'm not trying to sway anybody any certain way. You know I don't police fandom here, and if that's how Dave wants to fan, he can do that. He is well in his right. I'm still the new kid on the block out here, right? Not as new. I got a Sacramento native in my house now with my 1-month-old kiddo. So I've been here for a while now, but Dave has been doing this for a very long time. He has been fanning for the Sacramento Kings since he was a wee young pup. So Dave can react however he wants to react. The way I see it, as I've laid out over the last 15 minutes here, is today is not, you know when people say that to you, hey, not the time, right? That's how I feel. I'm not telling anybody else, right? But I don't feel like it's the time to talk about the negative aspects of the Westbrook stuff. People can call in and we can talk about it, and we're not going to just gush over it for the next 4 hours, but at least to start the show, it's not the time.
You're playing the game here, the professional broadcaster game of like.
No, there's no game. There's no game.
This is exciting.
There's no game.
Yeah, I guess my just kind of thought is like I'm relieved that what I was seeing all summer kind of ended up coming true, which is they'll sign Russell Westbrook not because it makes basketball sense, because it makes rotation sense, because it pushes the team in either direction. They will sign Russell Westbrook because they want to sign Russell Westbrook. And that is ultimately what they decided to do. Even when your starting four goes down, even when Russell Westbrook is doing, media stuff for All-Star and is on a yacht and everything like that. Like, even while all that's happening, the fundamental reason why they signed Russell Westbrook is because they wanted to sign Russell Westbrook. And they did. Whether it made basketball sense or not, they were going to bring him in because that's what they wanted to do. It's what they wanted to do when free agency opened, and it took some time for the Kuminga thing to get sorted out, but they waived Terrence Davis and created that roster spot to sign Russell Westbrook just like we thought they were going to do. Not because it made perfect basketball sense, because that's just what they wanted to do. Yeah,
that's a great point. And we've talked about this before when it comes to, and this isn't me talking, this is what they've told us when it comes to the culture thing. They felt this whole time a couple of things. Number one, they did feel like they needed a backup point guard. Right, which I talked to Malik Monk. You can go check out that interview on YouTube. One of the best interviews that I feel like I've had since being out here, because Malik and myself, we've talked a couple different times. But I thought the Malik Monk can't be a point guard thing was overstated. It was the idea of Malik being the number one point guard, right? If there's a situation, y'all know I love baseball, when it comes to, hey, in a pinch or when Willy Adames needs a day off, he can't really, but can Casey Schmidt play shortstop when Willy Adames needs a day off? Can your second baseman or third baseman play shortstop for a game, right? They're not your starting shortstop, but they can play it for a game. Aaron Judge is not a center fielder, and we saw that in the World Series, but he can play center field for a couple games,
when
right?
Trent Grisham's hurt.
Exactly. Malik Monk, he can be your backup point guard. He can be in the point guard rotation. They did not feel so. They did not feel the same way. And it was evident to me in that Portland game, and I know it was just in the first game against the Raptors, when Malik didn't handle the ball that much. So they don't necessarily want to see, it doesn't feel like they wanted to see Malik at the point guard position that much. That's their prerogative, right? Whether that's from Doug or Scott Perry, BJ Armstrong, that's their prerogative. So with that being said, they felt like they needed a backup point guard. Now, here's the other thing that you can compartmentalize. You're Scott Perry, you're coming into a position where I think we need a backup point guard. We also have a ton of guards on the team, and I didn't put these guards on the team. Now, we did draft Nick Clifford, but I didn't put these guards on the team. So I could either go get a need that I believe we need to address, or I cannot address it because I don't want it to look bad because we already have a bunch of guards, a bunch of combo guards that I did not add to this roster. Scott Perry decided, and when you add in the culture piece of this, and you might get tired of hearing that word, Scott Perry decided that the former was more important than the latter, which was the perceived roster construction from the national standpoint. Why do the Kings, and not even national, the local, why do the Kings have so many guards? He felt like it was still more new, and I'm obviously paraphrasing. We spoke to Scott Perry on Media Day as well, and you can talk, and you can check that out on YouTube and on the Sactown Sports app. But he did not tell me this, but how I'm understanding this is he thought it was more important to get a backup point guard and add to the culture versus either do nothing or find some random Jalen Daniels type of dude off the scrap heap. That's what he felt. Now, I'm taking a look at some of these texts on the text line 916-339-1140, and I love it because they're all negative, right? Or majority of them are negative, which is cool.
Or
right?
People asking what jersey he's going to wear.
Right, which is cool. Like I said, I'm not gonna police anybody and tell you how to fan. My question is this: knowing that there probably wasn't that much out there available, right? And this changes now with the Keegan thing. Did you want them to find someone else, or did you want them to just do nothing? Because I think the better argument would have been to do nothing. As much as I am talking about Westbrook and bringing in the dog and a backup point guard, I was completely okay doing nothing. I don't think the Kings needed to bring him in. They decided to do that, so now I'm going to sit there and say, okay, well, you brought in a future Hall of Famer, so let's see what happens. But I'm more so in the camp of, well, let's just see what happens, and if nothing else, you're letting these guys, the young guys, get time. That's why I will reserve my feeling. The conversation I'm having is bringing Russell Westbrook to the team. If he's taking legitimate minutes away from a Neat Clifford, and then let's talk about who you truly don't want him to take minutes away from. Because I think off the top of my head, there's probably two guys, right? And everybody knows Malik Monk is my favorite player on the team. If you've listened to this show at all, you know that. But
I'm a pizza guy.
Thank you very much, Malik. But the only two guys I would actually be upset about Russell Westbrook taking playing time from, there's one that's honorable mention, but the only two guys I would actually be upset about would be Neat Clifford and Keon Ellis. And the honorable mention would be Devin Carter, right? And I'm not going to sit here and say, and don't do that. If you didn't want Russell Westbrook on the squad and he's taking minutes away from Devin Carter, now all of a sudden you're the biggest Devin Carter guy because you didn't want Russell Westbrook on the team.
Also, Devin Carter probably wasn't going to play minutes either way.
Right. We counted the 10. They wanted a 10-man rotation. Devin Carter was not in that. What's interesting, Kyle, if we go back to that 10-man rotation, now on the other side, let's discuss who could find themselves on the outside looking in. 4 hours with you. Let's get through this together. 916-339-1140. TC, I see you. Jacob, I see you. Do not move. You kick off the next segment in about 3 minutes. Alan Stiles, Sactown Sports.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law